Nice.
It's like, welcome to this. Oh, what's my thing that I say
What
every
is
time? You know what? Screw it.
Hey, that's
I've
me,
made
bro.
it this far. Hopefully you know what this show
That's
is.
me all day, bro.
Also, we're going to clap every disc change to help sync the audio
Yeah.
on the back end.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not forgetting anything. Here we go.
Here we go.
Both
of us?
Together.
Let's go.
on 0. So 3, 2, 1, clap.
0. Oh, gotcha.
3, 2, 1. That was all right.
That was
It was very
impressive.
gentle.
I know it was.
Hopefully it picked up. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's episode of A Moment of Friendly Introspection, the honest conversational podcast with creative guests and thoughtful questions. I got it, yes. This month, my guest is Nico Barboza. How you doing?
I'm good, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. I was just saying, this is my last record, and it'll be out of order for you watching, but just it feels weird to be sunsetting on this.
That's
a little
crazy.
bit.
How many have you done so far?
I've done 11. So there will
wow.
be 11 or 12 total
Okay.
that release at the end of the month, at the end of each month next year in 2025.
Beautiful.
And I did an episode 0 that explains who I am and why I'm doing this, which hopefully you've seen. I know I sent it to you. And maybe there will be something afterward, just like a moment in review. Okay. What did I learn from all this? I don't know. I'm not committing to that. No one hold me to that.
I love it, bro. I love it.
Oh, man. So you just got back home.
I just got back home.
Where were you?
I was in Orlando, Florida. Okay. The artist that I play for, we had a few makeup shows because when we were doing our U.S. run, the back end was in Florida and the hurricane happened literally the week that we were going to do a show.
Of course.
So we had to reschedule some stuff. And so we just got done with that. And then here in a few weeks, we have the final one in Miami and we're done for the year.
Dude, wild.
You know?
How many dates do you do a year?
Man, it depends. It's not super heavy. Like, for example, we'll do anywhere from 40 to 50 maybe.
Okay.
But the thing with us is that not only, but for the most part, we do international stuff. And so the travel is super heavy. Mm-hmm. So a lot of Europe, a lot of South America, Central, all that stuff. And so it's not like just getting on a bus and going from city to city. Totally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really early call times.
Yeah.
Planes, all of the above.
Well, okay. What is the worst mode of transportation along the line for you?
For me?
Yeah.
At this point, plane.
Really?
Bro, I hate flying.
Dude, I'm becoming a worse traveler, especially planes.
Oh, really?
They make me so nauseous. And I just feel like a little baby.
I know. And it's I had to do this whole thing because I've always been super conscious about planes. I've always had a respect for them, like the ocean, for example. I hate
a reverence.
Absolutely, bro. The ocean, I'll go for swim and stuff, maybe if I'm in the mood. Yeah. But I'm not a big beach type of person because you don't know what's out there. Absolutely. That's me. So I'm the same way with planes, right? Yeah. I don't know all the mechanics. Bro, I don't know what's up there. I don't know the mechanics. I don't know if something fails, how likely that,
Yeah.
So I'm at the point now where I feel more confident about how a plane functions.
Okay, good for you.
I know. It's been a long 3 years of growth.
Yeah.
But I just hate the whole TSA thing and mostly with the artists that I'm with, I don't have to travel with my gear. So that's a plus. Mm-hmm. But when I have to do other one-offs and stuff where I have to take my guitars and then a lot of times they inspect it and all that stuff.
Sure.
I hate that part.
Yeah.
So I would say flying because of the process that it involves.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. What about you though?
Man, I used to love going on plane rides or trips that included planes as a kid. My mom would always buy Bubblicious bubble gum, and we would chew it just to keep our ears from popping. And it would literally be the only time she bought gum. So I was like, yes, we get to have some gum and some ginger ale. It's going to be a great time. But there was one time a few years ago, I was flying to Seattle. So like from Nashville to Seattle, and we had a stop in Denver. Mm-hmm. And on the way there, this was still like, I was still a little COVID conscious at the time. This was like maybe late 2022. So I was trying to wear a mask on the plane just to be safe. Bad idea. I got so like overheated and felt like I couldn't breathe. I was just like a little bit of hyperventilating, like a little bit panic attack. I was like, okay, let me just take the mask off. That'll be okay. But then I just felt so nauseous. And like I have a history of being incredibly motion sick. Like anything will tip me off. But I had never experienced it on a plane. So like going there to Denver, that's about not 4 hour, maybe 3 hour flight.
Yeah.
Just sitting there, again, like a little baby, just feeling like I'm going to die and no one cares and I can't say anything because I'm a grown adult. But like, that was so hellish. And we landed in Denver. It was supposed to be like a 20-minute layover, turned into 2 hours.
Oh,
Just sitting there with the engine idling. So like still having movement and me still being very nauseous.
Yeah.
It took everything within me to not vomit in front of everyone.
Bro, I feel you.
Whew, it was bad. So from then on, it was just like, I don't love this.
All it takes is one bad experience, bro. So I remember, I can't even remember when it was. It was probably like, I mean, I had already been with the artist that I'm with, so it was definitely within the last 3 years.
Okay.
But I was, we were doing a show in, I think it was in Miami. It was like a big festival that we had to do. And flying there, get on the plane. And you know how Florida is. It always rains, always something, right? But the problem is that we got on the plane and we were about like, I don't know, like maybe 45 minutes out. And the captain gets on the, on the speaker thing. He goes like, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. We don't have enough fuel to get to where we need to be. And I'm like, excuse me? Bro, like I had my AirPods on and I was like, I know for a fact I didn't just hear what I just heard.
Oh my gosh.
And bro, we had to make like kind of an emergency landing because for some reason, we didn't have enough fuel. And so like now, that was just to Florida, obviously.
Sure.
When we go on longer trips where we go to like Chile, for example, you're not gonna tell me that you're gonna run out of
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that stuff freaks me out. So like now every time that I travel, that's the first thought in my mind. I'm like, I hope we have enough fuel.
You know what? I hate that you said that out loud because now it's going to be my fear.
I hope it never happens to you.
Yeah, thank you. You're going to start checking the fuel like, hey, y'all got this?
Yeah, exactly. As you woke up, y'all good?
They're going to be like, not 911. We got to check.
Yeah, man. Flying is a trip. It's not for everybody.
Absolutely. I guess I should have, I'm asking these questions out of order. What do you do?
Yeah, we should start with that.
It's okay.
Man, so I'm a musician.
Yeah.
I play, produce, I arrange, like all the above. But currently I'm on tour with a Latin artist named Luis Fonsi. And yeah, man, it's been fun. We've been, I've been with him for like 3 years, 3.5 maybe.
Wow.
And it's been great, dude. I remember growing up listening to him because he's known for like a song that he dropped that kind of went global and put Latin music on the map globally.
Crazy.
There have been people, obviously there was a process, but his song was like the one that this is Latin music, this is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so people here know him for that song. But in Latin America, man, he's been like one of the GOATs for a long time. And so I grew up listening to him. Man. And so being with him has been like an incredible experience, but also honor because like I grew up not only listening to those records, but learning the guitar parts when I was a kid. You know what I mean?
Man, yeah.
And so,
that's
nuts. Man, so that's what I do. I'm on tour with him now. And so, yeah.
Obviously people say don't meet your heroes, but like, you met someone who meant so much to you musically.
Yeah.
And you've been working with him for 3.5 years. Like, it can't have been that bad.
Oh,
You're still working with him. How has it been?
He's been one of the best, definitely the best artist as far as like the camp and like how everybody is on the road.
Sure.
It's been the best experience, man. Wow. He is the most down to earth, just kind dude, just always like hanging out with us, asking us how everybody's doing, all that stuff. You know what I mean? So it's really cool to be a part of something like that where you can actually feel part of a family. You know what I mean? It's not just checking up the box of like just being on tour, getting on the plane, doing the show, go home. You know, it's like when we're out there, it's like all we have is us, you know what I mean? Because we're all away from our families. And so it's been a really cool, healthy experience from that perspective, that. You know?
Let's stay there on the family thing. Yeah. Like, as a touring musician, how in the world do you try to find and maintain community here, back at home, when you're out so much?
Yeah.
Not even just with like immediate family or like spouse, but just like friends too.
Totally. It's been really challenging. And I think ever since, because that was like right out of college, this was like my first like global thing, like world tour, being gone like internationally, which is a lot different than, you know, just being in the country. And so for me, that has been one of the biggest lessons, because when I got on with him, at the time I was dating my wife, but by the time that we did our first like big world tour, we had just gotten engaged. You know, and so like I literally got engaged about like a week before I left for like the first part of the tour, which was like a month and a half.
Nuts.
You know what I mean?
Oh man.
And so since the beginning, it has always been a thing for me to really get a perspective of, okay, like how am I gonna do this? Because as much as it is super cool to do that for a living, and I'm super blessed to do it, if you're not careful, like lines can get a little blurry. You know what I mean? And so you have to learn like the difference of maintaining like a healthy, I guess, environment at home, and remembering that who you are on the road and what you have to be as far as the performer, that's not real life. You know what I mean? Like that's. We're actors on the stage at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to look at it, yeah.
And so that's just kind of my job. And so for me, one of the biggest things that I learned was that. And so something that I try to do is that when I'm home, I'm home. Like as soon as I land, I'm husband mode, like son, brother, uncle, friend, all that. And so it's I'm blessed to be in that position where like when I'm home, I don't necessarily have to go out of my way and be like, okay, where's my next gig? Like, what do I need to do to pay rent? You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I understand that that's like a big part of it, and I'm super blessed by it. But I try my best to, when I'm home, I'm focused on what is here now. You know what I mean? And when the time comes when I have to go out and worry about work and all stuff, we'll get to it. But when I'm here, I'm here, you know?
Yeah. Let's say for some reason you get home, but you still feel like you're back there or you're absent in some way. How do you not beat yourself up about that?
Bro, that is such a good question. We were talking with my wife about it, because at first I was horrible at it. Like it was like I couldn't shut off the touring mindset. You know, like I landed and it would take me like a week and a half to get back to myself. And not for any specific reason, just because I was just on the go, on the road. You know what I mean? And I think that like, it kind of goes along with what I was saying with like realizing that what I do up on that stage, that's my job, obviously, but like, I'm there to entertain people. Like, that's not who I am. Like, the way that I identify, if you took like that guitar and that stage away from me, I'm at a point where like I would be okay with it. I wouldn't necessarily like doubt who I am as a person. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's such an important thing, because again, bro, like lines can get blurry, you know? And so it's always, I'm so thankful for my wife, because she's always been somebody that keeps me grounded. And the same with my family. And that's why when I'm home, I try to go see them. They're like 2.5 hours down the road. So it's kind of far, but not far enough to where like I can go see them, you know?
Yeah, totally. Okay.
So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. Like you got better at it.
Yeah, man. And it's something that like, it's a process, obviously, you know what I mean? And like when I land now, I'm back home, I have to shut that off, like everything that involves touring and all that. And, you know, come home and we love like watching TV with my wife. We love like driving around. Like one of our favorite things is driving around and seeing neighborhoods. And
That's
like
great.
just dreaming of like the houses that we love to live in.
Man,
you know what I mean?
It. Yes, of course.
So doing things like that it's a really healthy thing for me.
Yeah.
You know?
I did that before I stopped here. I was like, I got some time. Let me just run around, see what they're working with.
You know what I mean? And then you pull up Zillow and you're like, oh man.
I'll never do this.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up by another neighborhood next time.
There you go. Let's go back even further. Like, tell me and the audience some of your story. Like, how did you land such a wonderful gig?
Yeah. So the way that the gig happened, it was actually during the pandemic.
Okay.
So at this point, I was still in school. I graduated in 21, so this was like a year to a year and a half before I graduated. Mm-hmm. And it was the time where everybody went either like fully remote with classes, or you had a few remote classes and you had to show up to, campus for a few.
Yeah.
So it was kind of that. And so having a lot of online classes, I would just log into Zoom, turn my camera on for like 10, 15 minutes just so that they would know that I was there.
Yeah.
Shut it off. And then I was just doing videos and practicing and like doing a bunch of stuff. And so that's when like I started putting a lot of content out, which at that time, obviously social media wasn't what it is now.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like people were like posting videos, but it was more about like sharing their art or sharing their, it was more of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so for me, it started as just like, I just had nothing else to do but be in class for a little bit, play guitar. I was like, I'm just gonna start making videos.
Yeah.
So I started making videos. And through that, I started meeting a lot of different people. One of them ended up being the guy who is the musical director for Fonzie. Mm-hmm. And so we connect. Later, he calls me to do a tour that I couldn't make at the time. Because I was just in another stage in life, and I was at another church where like I really liked the crew that I was around.
Yeah.
Not only musically and like all that stuff, but obviously the church. And I had become friends with like some of my heroes musically because we were all there because like nobody was touring. You know what I mean? So they had like a super mega band. And I was like, I'm not ready to leave this.
Yeah.
So I didn't do it, but we ended up doing a project online, which he was grabbing like different pop songs and doing like reharms to it.
Cool.
And just, making it a little bit more musical. And he grabbed, like his thing was grabbing like players from different bands or different artists. So we ended up doing one that was with like some of JT's crew and like Ricky Martin, Beyonce, like all these heavy hitters, right?
Yeah.
And so we did that video, worked together, and when it came to time for the guy that was playing for Fonzie, when he went out, he was the first person that I thought of, I was the first person that he thought of.
Yeah.
And so he called me, and it all happened very fast, bro. Because like at that point, I had just graduated. This was 2021, and so graduated in May. He calls me somewhere between May and October, let's say October. And he's like, hey man, I'm working with this artist, our guitar players, going out.
Yeah.
And I thought you would be a great fit for it. So we started talking about, logistics and obviously like the passport thing and
of course, yeah.
all the, touring experience, all that stuff. And at that point I was fresh, bro. Like I had done like spot dates, but I hadn't done like tours, right? And so it was a big thing for me. And so he took a big leap of faith, man, and just thought I was the guy for it. And literally 2 to 3 weeks after that, I was on my way to Chile for my first rehearsal with them. Did 2 or 3 days of rehearsal. And then it was his first show back in Santiago since, the pandemic. Yeah. So at that point it had been like a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Yeah.
So it was like a huge pressure, bro. It was like, it was a beast of an experience for me. And so, we do rehearsals, get there, finish, and by the end of it, Fonzie comes over and shakes my hand. He's like, welcome to the family.
Wow.
And they haven't fired me since, which has been amazing.
As of this recording.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, let's go back even further. Like, obviously you have to be good at guitar for people to see your videos and be like, oh, we should have this guy on our band. When did guitar stuff start for you?
Yeah. So I started very early. So I grew up, so first of all, I am from Uruguay, right? So country in South America, right in between Argentina and Brazil. And that's where I grew up. My parents have been in church since they were like teenagers, and they've been ministers for a long time. And so I grew up in that. The thing is that when I was in Uruguay, my parents were more on the like musical side of, ministry aspect, not so much of the pastoring that they do now. And so my earliest memory is me being in a rehearsal waiting for my parents to be done.
Bro.
At church.
I have many memories of that too.
Hey, bro, sleeping on pews, taking all my toys because I didn't know when I was going to be back home.
Yes.
And so that's where it all started for me, man. Like since day one, right? And so because of that, when I was 5 years old, I started playing guitar.
Wow.
It was just one of those very unexpected things. No, I didn't even know that I could do it, but the way that it happened was that my dad was preaching at a church. And so he was also invited to also lead worship. And so the guy that went with him to play guitar, I was there on the first row with my family, and it was just him and the guy playing guitar. And I remember for some reason, I was just super intrigued by the guitar. At that point, I had never tried to play one, nothing like that as a 5-year-old. I had just seen it through rehearsals and all that.
Yeah.
And I remember we get back home that night, and man, I randomly picked up a guitar that was just sitting at our house because my dad plays a little bit too. And I picked it up and I started playing like a couple of the chords that the guy was playing.
That's nuts.
I know. It was like, for me, it was natural. Like for me, in my mind, it was like, okay, I just memorized like a few shapes and like it is what it is. And my parents look at me and they're like, where did you learn that?
Yeah.
I'm like, I was just watching. So since that moment, like they knew that there was something going on, you know? And from then on, immediately my dad just started teaching me as much as he could because he does play a little bit. And so after that, it was just YouTube, you know what I mean? And just learning that way. Took a couple lessons with people, but it was more like getting together and asking questions type of thing because I was so young and so intrigued that like, even it got to a point where like there were certain things that I couldn't do because the guitar was so much bigger than I was. You know what I mean? I would be like this and I would there was just some certain strings that I couldn't reach.
That's amazing.
And so that's the way it started for me, man. And ever since then, started playing at church.
Yeah.
It's a very like common thing at least in Uruguay for musicians in the local churches to be young. Like when I was coming up, as a 5-6-year-old, the people that were like the official people that were playing every single week at my church were like 14 to 18.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So that's something that like music over there, as far as like church goes, they start you very young.
Yeah.
And so I was blessed to, have people that, taught me as much as they could. And that was it, So that's kind of my story.
Yeah. How did you grow your relationship with creativity in relation to the guitar? Like, I guess YouTube did a lot of it, but remember you were like, what if I did this and this and like put these things together and made it my own thing instead of like copying what other people are showing me?
Absolutely. I think for me, that was like a thing that happened very early on because in South America, and I'm going to talk specifically about Uruguay because that's the way, that's where I grew up. I don't know about the other countries, right? But for us, like, unless you're super into like American music, not every household grows up listening to like Michael Jackson and Prince. And like Led Zeppelin and like all these like legends that people normally grow up listening to here. Like we don't have, at least at that point, we didn't have a lot of access to that unless you would go buy a CD or like you heard it through, you know what I mean? It was kind of that vibe. And so for me, it all started with like a rock and like rock from Uruguay, right?
Yeah, cool.
And so because of, the church thing, from the musical perspective, being so young and being surrounded by musicians that were so young also, it's not like we were listening to songs and like for Sunday, for example, and trying to replicate exactly what's on the record because we didn't know any better. Like for us, it was just learning that, you know, kind of like what it was, the chords and all that, and just kind of putting our spin to it.
Yeah, cool.
And so unknowingly, that's the culture that I grew up in. Mm-hmm. So since day one, man, for me, it was all about listening to a lot of different things and grabbing things from like different places. To kind of find my voice, you know? And that is something that that I'm super blessed that like the church back in the day did for me because it allowed me to be able to find my voice as a musician, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And obviously like Facebook Live and like all these things where everybody's exposed nowadays, that wasn't a thing. So I had the liberty to do whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm very blessed by that, man. And so it was really something that happened very early on for me. Yeah. Like I didn't know that like a lot of people fought to find their voice. Yeah. You know what I mean? It wasn't until like way later in life that I realized that not everybody grew up that way. Yeah. You know? So that's kind of how the creativity thing started for me. And then I moved to the United States when I was 13. Yeah. So I was young, but I was old enough to still like know what my life was like in Uruguay, right? Yeah. And so from then on, all the American like the whole R&B, soul type of stuff that I had never heard in my life, that's when it all came to that. And so that's where all of it blended. Yeah. You know?
Okay. Having said that about the church experience, when you do get to America and you do start playing for like mainly Western evangelical churches, did you have creative frustration in that, like trying to do your thing or trying to just do what you've always done, but like, no, we're playing stuff that sounds like the record?
Yeah. So no, and the reason for that is because when we moved here, as far as like the church stuff goes, we were involved in like the Hispanic church.
Well, there you go.
So it wasn't, though it was like different, like very different cultures from like Central America, for example, from South America. That's like really different culturally, right? So there was that difference, but there were some similarities as far as like how services go and all that. So it wasn't like I was involved immediately in the American, like English speaking church to where at that point, you know, you're supposed to play the record and do all that stuff. I had, being in the Latin or Hispanic church, I had a lot of liberty with that. Yeah. So it was actually something that I had to learn later on in life. Like when I got to college and I started playing all that CCM music. Yeah. That's when, at first, like not... I don't even know if I can say it.
You can say it. I'm giving you permission.
So, exactly. Yeah. So we had chapel every Tuesday and Thursday. Right? We went to a Christian school.
We did.
And Tuesday, Thursday would be chapel, and so there would be a team of students that would play and lead and all stuff.
This is a common thing at Christian colleges.
Yeah. And so for us, it was Tuesday, Thursdays, and so. You know, getting there as a freshman, studied music business, I had to get involved in the music part. Obviously, I was going to do it regardless, but I had to, right? And so at first, I wasn't really selected for anything because I wasn't the player that like would just play parts.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's not what I was used to. For me, I was coming from a completely different world. And so I remember like my first semester, I would never get like placed for chapel band. Yeah. Because I just couldn't play the parts.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like my mind just went to a completely different place. And so
that's crazy.
That's something that I had to learn later on in life. Yeah.
How did you end up at Lee in general?
Yeah. So growing up, back to the whole church thing, I grew up in the denomination that Lee belongs to, which is Church of God. Yeah. So kind of grew up in that. And so I knew about it, like, you know, growing up in Uruguay or just anywhere in Latin America, it's like getting to the US. Like if you're from the Church of God, getting to the US and like studying at Lee is like the thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no
idea. It's crazy. Like even like they have this thing called General Assembly and all that stuff. It's if you go there, bro, that's like you made it.
Wow.
You know? And so I've always heard about Lee. And so I get here, and Lee has a competition called Teen Talent every year. So I competed in Teen Talent 3 years. And basically, if you win state, you go on to internationals to represent your state. And if you win internationals, you get a year scholarship to Lee.
Heck yeah.
And I won 3 years. And so I was like,
love it.
I guess I'm going here, maybe. And so that's how it happened, man. And so I knew about the university and all that stuff, but it was really through that competition where I was able to go to school. You know what I mean? Because we had just moved. It wasn't like my parents had planned for me to go to college and like, you know, set money aside and all that wasn't a thing, you know? Yeah. So the Lord really blessed me with that, man. And so that's how I ended up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's take our first break. We'll be right back. Don't worry about us.
Let's go.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that wonderful clap. We were just talking about college, and I guess I'll share how I got there. When I was in middle school, I was a part of the basketball team for my school, and we had a basketball camp there. And we rode up there. It was about 2.5 hours away from my hometown, Alabama. Rode up there, and I just remember the campus being so beautiful. And like there were a bunch of other camps happening around too. Like maybe Teen Talent was happening around the same time. I don't know. But like we stayed in the dorms. We had our games in the various gyms around. I was like, this place is awesome. Yeah. And maybe it's just college in general got in my brain of like, oh, this is cool. But yeah, I remember leaving in an awesome place. Yeah. Then I started going to a Church of God church in Alabama. So they were always talking about Lee as the promised land. Absolutely. So I was like, oh, maybe I could go there. And then I'm a senior in high school, and I'm like, you know what? They're not giving me as much money as the place down the road. I'll just go here for free. And I went there for 2 years, and I was studying accounting, and I failed out of that program. So I was like, well, shoot.
Don't feel bad.
I was like, crap, okay. Yeah. And around that time, I was thinking, okay, maybe I could get into the music business. I don't even know if there is one. Like I was 20. I was like, I don't know, but I'll try it. And I remembered Lee. I was like, maybe they have something. So I checked out the website. They had kind of just started their music business program. Yeah. Because I still had to get in as a vocalist or an instrumentalist. And I was like, why in the world? Like, I don't want to, I don't know. I don't want to sing for a living. Why do I have to sing to get into this? But whatever. Exactly. So I auditioned, got in as a singer, and then just started going for that. And at first I was very excited. Then I realized how much work it was going to be, specifically vocally. Yeah. I was like, man, this is a lot of stuff. So like I was taking the piano classes, which is fine. I mean, piano's a good skill to learn, but I didn't envision myself using that for my career. So I was like, why do I need this? Music theory and oral scales. I was like, okay, cool. Why do I need this? Yeah. The choir classes. I was like, okay, I do love singing in choirs. It's kind of fun, but still, why do I need this? So I was there for 2 years, basically saying just like, why am I here? What are they teaching me that I could do for a living? But I didn't know what I wanted to do. Yeah. So one day I just Googled music industry jobs, came across A&R, thought that'd be cool, and then went from there. Yeah. But yeah, my Lee experience was a bit strange, a bit misguided, I suppose. Yeah. And I think that's a very like common thing, especially like in the music department of things, unless you go to like a conservatory or like Berkeley or like Juilliard, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there won't like you'll be learning a lot of things that are useful. Yeah. But everything is so by the book. Yes. That if you don't have people in your corner that are constantly telling you, hey, do this, but don't forget about this side. And that's why I was so blessed, bro. Because like it got to a point where like I was in the same place as you. It was like I was taking all these music history classes and piano, which like I'm glad I did. But at the time I was like, I don't need this. You know what I mean? Yes, totally. And so, but in those times I had people that were like, you have to just get those things done. Sure. Get it done, but focus on this. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why, like for me, I ended up on the road so quick or working in the space that I'm working so quick because like through all my years in college,
I would just show up to class, obviously get good grades, all the stuff.
Of course.
But I wouldn't dwell in that. Yeah, exactly. The best that you could. Let's just leave it at that. The best you could. But it's like, there's not a lot of people telling you that, like, specifically for the music business stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there's no better way than just getting out there and doing it. You know what I mean?
Preach.
Because you will get, like, you'll go to school for 4 or 5 years, maybe longer.
Yeah. And
then you'll get out and realize that either everything that you learn is super outdated,
yeah,
or that it was never true at all. You know? Yes. And so, like, you have to restart all over again. Yeah. And so it's always good to, you know, if there's any college people out there watching, to also pay attention to the outside of school. And so start working on all your skills and all of the logistics and, like, business stuff.
Yeah.
When you're in college, so that when you get out, you're already kind of on your way and you're not starting from zero.
Absolutely, I mean? Yes. That is a good word.
Because it was, yeah, man, like if I hadn't had people like that in my life that were telling me that, I would have never known. Yeah. You know, I would have just worried about trying to get good grades, maybe being an honor student if I had it in me.
Yeah.
And then look back and be like, this little thing that they put around my neck at graduation day isn't going to do much for me. You know what I mean?
It won't pay the bills.
Now, if you're doing masters and all stuff, that's a different.
Of course, that's.
But for me, I knew that I was going to get my bachelor's, and that was it.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to go back.
Oh my gosh!
And so I understand that, man, because it's kind of like a super common thing where there's not a lot of people, and I don't know why. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but it's like they don't really tell you, like, school is important and, like, you have to do this, but, like, get out, like, network with people, like, ask how the music business is, like, what their experiences are. Like, that's some of the most valuable lessons that you can get. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know why they don't say that.
Yeah.
Or maybe they do. Maybe they just didn't when we were there. Maybe they do now.
Maybe so.
Or maybe other schools do.
Yeah.
But truly, it's all about who you know.
It really is.
That does, like, 80% of the heavy lifting until you get into the thing you're wanting to do. And then it's about, can you do the thing?
Absolutely.
Are you a good hang? Who do you know?
Yes.
It's so many intangibles getting in the door and, like, networking. Mm-hmm. So figure out what you like, who your people are, reach out to the people doing the thing you're doing, get some tips from them. Hopefully they're friendly enough to want to impart that wisdom to you. I didn't get a lot of that from Lee. And then when I moved here, I started going to Middle Tennessee State, and I feel like there was a little more of, like, connections or the thing.
Right.
But gosh, at that point, I just felt like so washed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 21, I'm in all these freshman classes, like, oh, what am I doing with my life? Just like, I don't know if I got this in me, so I dropped out. I was just like, whatever. Yeah. But that's when I decided, you know what, I'm gonna just try and make my own connections, see where that takes me. And it landed in a good place.
And look at that, bro. Look at you now.
Doing this show.
I'm sure, exactly. I'm sure that, like, back then when, you know, you were going through that whole, like, Lee experience and all that, you would have never thought that you would be here today.
Never.
You know what I mean? So it's like, God is always good, man. And it's one of those things that, like, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in life, and, you know, if you want to go deeper on the spiritual side, like what you're called to do, the Lord's going to bless that. You know what I mean? And so, so it's cool. Because I remember we met originally in college, right?
Did.
We had a few classes together, like a couple, maybe one, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But we weren't
on paper, I mean.
Yeah, on paper. But we weren't really friends back then. Trust me, I was checked out too.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, we met there. And then I remember when I moved to Nashville, we reconnected somehow, and all this stuff, like, came up. But it's funny because we reconnected way after we met. You know what I mean?
Right.
In college, we were completely different mindsets.
Absolutely, yes. Oh my gosh.
And so about the podcast, like, I was gonna tell you, bro, that I'm super honored to be here, because I remember when we grabbed coffee for the first time when I moved, you were telling me about, you know, this dream that you had and this thing. And so I'm honored that I'm here now, and that, like, you're actually making it happen, bro.
Of course.
So I just wanted to say that real quick.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, man.
Yeah, man. It was so weird. And that's one of the questions in the next section. So we will get to more of that later.
Lovely.
But I want to go back a little bit to like moving here when you were 13. What was the biggest culture shock America had to offer?
Oh, wow. You got another extra 2 hours on top of what we just talked about? Where do I even begin? For me, when I moved here, it's all a crazy story. Because to make the story short, grew up in church. My parents felt like they were being called to the U.S. To work with the church here and all that. And I've known this since I was born in 97. So like this happened in 2000 and ended up moving in 2010. So it was like 10 years that went by. And so since I was a kid, I knew that at some point we were going to move, right? I just didn't know when. Yeah. So my whole life I grew up knowing that at some point it was going to happen, but I never knew when. I never really took English lessons or anything like that. I was just fully in the moment. I was a kid, bro. I was in Uruguay playing with my friends and playing in church and doing, all that stuff.
Kid stuff.
And then one day, all of a sudden, my dad starts, having dreams and can't go to sleep for months and all this stuff. And he's like, it's time to go.
Wow.
And within 2 weeks of when they told me,
oh my,
we left.
Wow.
2 weeks.
It was time.
It was definitely time. They made it clear.
Yeah.
But all that to say that it all came up so quick that when I came here, I didn't have any idea of how the country worked. I didn't know English. I didn't speak any English whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing for me as a 13-year-old was finding my place in a completely new, different country. With a completely different language that I literally didn't even know how to say how are you? I couldn't get those words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that being 13, being in middle school,
the worst time.
Oh my God, bro. It was awful. Yeah. And bullying and all stuff. And so it got to the point where when I was coming back from school every day, I would just lock myself in a room and just watch movies, listen to music, read, and just try to imitate the accent and kind of try to get the language down, at least a little bit to make it quicker. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Where is this geographically?
This is in Cleveland, Tennessee.
Okay.
Out of all places.
I didn't know you went there.
Oh, we went straight there,
crazy.
Bro.
Okay.
Straight. I was born and raised in Montevideo, which is the capital. City. I'm a city guy, bro.
Yeah.
Was born in the city.
Big shock.
And if you guys know where Cleveland, Tennessee is, if you don't, look it up because you're going to learn real quick. It was a big difference.
Wow.
And so language was one.
Sure.
Bro, I miss Uruguayan food so much.
Oh, geez.
Because it's it's not just the way you cook things, but seasonings and all the stuff.
Seasoning
bro,
in general,
you'll find it in Miami,
sure,
LA, and New York maybe, but you ain't gonna find it in Cleveland, Tennessee.
No, for sure.
I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
And so that was a big thing. Obviously, family. That was a big adjustment. Always being surrounded by my friends and my family, and then all of a sudden we moved to a place where it's just my mom, my dad, and my sister. It's just all four of us. For holidays, for literally everything.
Yeah.
We were all we had. And so those were the biggest challenges for me. And then obviously along the way you start to realize the customs and how people work.
Sure.
Certain tensions that I wasn't used to.
Sure.
Because I didn't grow up with those.
Of course.
And I didn't I look a certain way and so people assume certain things.
Yes.
But I didn't understand it, the history behind it. I didn't grow up with that.
Let's stay there for a second.
Oh man,
your experience of the way people handle race in Southern America, being someone who gets here and doesn't know any better, you don't know the history
legitimately
of just anyone who is not white.
Yeah,
so brown, black, Asian,
doesn't matter.
You're different.
Yeah.
So when you did get, I don't know, maybe teased or people would say weird things, did it just roll off your back because you didn't know what was up? Or
at first it did until I started understanding the history of this country when it comes with that. You know what I mean? Because one of the biggest things for me that is so different is that people look at me and they can't tell where I'm from. Like they're confused. They're like, are you African American? Are you Latino? Are you Middle Eastern? Are you know what I mean? And so like for people, at least at that time, Cleveland being such a small place, you had a lot of people that weren't really exposed to that many races to be able to know past just like black and white.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it was one of those things where like I grew up like learning how to handle people according to their reaction because they didn't know how to react.
Sure.
And they're not like, in most cases, they weren't going to come up and be like, what are you?
In most
cases.
What
I mean? But in most cases, I had a lot of those. But in most cases, they wouldn't. So they would try to get around it and be like, oh yeah, so like, where are your parents from? And like, you know, all that stuff. And so like, they kind of beat around the bush.
Can you take this blood test for me?
Exactly.
Where's your birth certificate?
Exactly.
Bring it out here.
And so it was interesting, man, like learning that dynamic because like, I think there's two aspects. There's like the aspect of me specifically like to the black and white thing, like knowing the history behind it and understanding and living like a certain reality of it because of what people think, but also not because I didn't grow up with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that was a very tough thing to really learn because at the end of the day, like, you're not just gonna get into a fight and argument with everybody. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things where I had to just chill out and be like, how can I handle the situations to make them better for everybody? You know what I mean? Because it is up to me. Like, obviously, there is a certain way that people should approach that, but at the same time, at least me, where I am and being kind of in stuck between those two, I have to find a way to deal with it in a healthy way, because how else are you going to explain it to people? You know what I mean? And so that was like really interesting to get accustomed to. I didn't grow up with that, man. You know what I mean? Like I grew up in Uruguay. I was born there, but like from my mom's side, there's a lot of Brazilian history. From my dad's side, there's a lot of Portuguese. And so where you go in Uruguay, where my grandparents are from, a lot of people look like this. You know what I mean? Because you're so close to Brazil. But as soon as you get to the city, like, it's different.
Interesting.
But people grow up around that, so it's not like a weird thing. You know what I mean? Here is, you know, the history, like, so that has a lot of weight to it. And so that is the part that was super hard for me to get a grasp of. You know? So.
Yeah. For me, when my family moved to Alabama, we started going to I started going to this very small school, and there were maybe like 5 Black people in what became my graduating class, maybe total in the school, middle school, I don't know, 20? And this is a small school, but like, that was a very small ratio.
Absolutely.
And growing up in different places around the US and just like seeing different people groups and becoming friends naturally with just people that I globbed onto from school or whatever, it was just like, I don't, there's a weird phrase, but I don't see color. Like, we're all just cool. But I get to Alabama and it's obviously like, no, we like our differences here. We want to keep them separate. And that was a culture shock for me. It's just like, yo, y'all really feel that way? Because like some people were blatant. Most people were like, they hit it well, or as well as they could. But yeah, it's just a strange experience. And then I get to Lee, and I don't feel that as much, but just growing up in a predominantly white space, I was always on guard. Because it was the same thing at Lee. Maybe, I don't know, 90% white probably. Still not a lot of Black folks around there. But it was just like, oh, do I need to be on guard?
Absolutely.
Still here? I don't know. So I never felt fully comfortable in that regard either. So like that on top of not feeling like I was finding my place in a career sense, and then even not feeling fully in my, like fully grounded in a faith sense, especially in the Church of God denomination. That's why Lee was just a strange experience all around. Those 3 things.
It's a lot. It can be a lot, you know? And I totally relate to like the being on guard thing, because I think one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that even like, I'm not going to go as far as like racist or not racist, right?
Sure.
Because there is a thing. But at the same time, people that grow up not exposed or with friends from different races, it doesn't have to be just African American, it can be Latin nation, whatever.
Sure.
There is a lot of just little mannerisms and little things that would trigger stuff. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things where like a lot of people are unaware of little things that they might think is insignificant, but for us, we're like, oh man, here it goes. You know?
Yes.
And so that was one of the things that like catching onto those things was like a lot for me, because I had to catch it from like the black side where people thought I was black, the Latin side where that's a whole other thing. A lot of times the Middle Eastern thing, it's like I had to learn it from like all those different aspects, you know? And now I see it, it's funny, it's like I see it in my wife now because she's white. And so when we go places, there's certain things that I'll catch that she's not even aware of. And so it's been like a whole learning experience for her in knowing how to deal with those things. Because all it takes a lot of times is just one thing to come across the wrong way, or you're responding a certain way.
Totally.
And that is the thing that you want to avoid. You know what I mean?
I mean, there is the idea and the trope of the angry black man, which no one wants to be, because people end up dead when they get to that place. Yeah. So like me trying to avoid that at all costs. And I typically don't get outwardly angry in any situation. But like, you're right, those little things, they add up.
Absolutely, they do, man.
And you try to be measured and you try to like be kind and explain to people like, hey, this isn't cool and here's why.
Yeah.
But most people don't want to hear that.
Absolutely, absolutely. They don't want to hear it, or they simply don't get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you explain it and they're like, oh yeah, I see what you're saying. But
the next day, it's
exactly. It's like they see it.
Are you looking?
You need some glasses? But yeah, man. So that was like going back to the whole like moving here and dealing with that. Yeah. That was like another huge aspect of like the culture shock. You know?
Have there been any culture shocks getting to Nashville?
Man, that's interesting. I think that. Yes, but not from the negative sense, honestly.
Great.
I think, well, kind of. So I'll explain. So for me, Nashville has been a place where like, it is so friendly and so open to people, basically. Yeah. It feels like there's a good life and work balance here.
Sure,
which
I agree.
I don't see a lot in other cities. You know what I mean? Especially like with the whole American dream and all the stuff that people work themselves to death and right?
Yeah.
I feel like here there's a better balance of like life and work. And so that's one of the reasons why like it's been a good place to be when I just got married and I'm on tour, because you like it's like you land and you get here and you can't help but kind of start getting into that mindset of like, okay, like I'm off the road, like I'm home. You know what I mean? And so it's been really good from that sense. I think the one thing that like for me has been a little weird to get used to is that like when I network with people and connect, I legitimately want to connect and be like, yo, like where are you from? Where are you from? Like what's your story? You know what I mean? And not everybody's like that, you know what I mean? Like a lot of times you'll meet people and the conversation from when you start to when they ask you what you do and who you work with, it completely changes.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And so there's an aspect of that I had to get used to. But overall, it's been really healthy, man. Like I loved it. And so, it's been really good. How's it been for you though?
It's been good. Like you said, like when I got here, everyone was really friendly and open, and almost everyone I reached out to, except for one person who will not be named.
We'll leave it at that.
I reached out just to grab coffee and just like, hey, I'd love to hear your story. And that was my in. And it was real. Like I just wanted to hear stories, collecting stories around town. learning what people do and how they got here. Like I was fascinated by all that. So yeah, when I got here, people were just super open, really friendly, down to do anything, really great. And I think that's still the case.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I try to be that for other people too. Just like anyone who wants to reach out to me, if anyone's watching and is afraid to, please reach out.
We'll leave the number right here.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that. You can DM me. Yeah, I'll grab coffee, grab lunch with anyone. I still love hearing stories, and I love helping people. And now I'm in a place where I actually have some power to do that, creatively at least. Just like, okay, yeah, do I know someone who might help you further what you're trying to do? Or can you be helpful to Centricity or whatever? Like, I just love hearing stories. I love being helpful. Everyone's been open and honest and lovely, and hopefully I'm continuing that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing, man. And I think it's super important to remember what was your first experience when you moved here, so that whenever it is your time to be on the other side and people come in and they hit you up to like network and like connect, and it's good to know like the way that it felt when you did it, and that you can be of help to other people.
I will not forget,
bro. Absolutely. At the end of the day, man, like it's like we're all here with the same goal, and there's space for everybody.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I'm very passionate about making and keeping space for people.
Yeah.
And going back to like the whole race thing and being in mostly predominantly white spaces, that's still the case for me in like the CCM worship industry. Yeah. So like, especially if there's someone of color who's like, yeah, I think I want to get into like CCM A&R or just like something CCM related, like, oh, bro, come through. We need you. And not as a token, but just like, if you're really passionate about this, just your existence, people seeing you doing the thing that you want to do will fuel so many others.
100%, bro.
We need all of y'all.
100%.
Come through.
100%. Yeah, bro, that's a really good point. Especially like, you know, you mentioned the CCM thing. Like, for me, it's like always super encouraging when I see just people of color in general up either on the stage with like Christian artists or working behind the scenes or whatever, because it's like, at the end of the day, we're all there for like one goal. You know what I mean? Totally. And so it's really good to see people that can like represent well.
Representation, you know what I mean? Matters.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. So yeah. That's much needed for sure.
Yeah. Well, dude, let's take another quick break. I'll be right back with the questions.
Let's do it. Yeah, it's gotten better every time.
It's gotten so
we need to do another episode.
Yeah, maybe your show next time. Welcome back. We're getting into the questions now.
Let's go.
The 10 questions. I'm asking each guest. They're all the same, but I want to just hear different answers from different people.
Yeah, and we don't know, like, at least I don't know about what you're going to ask me, so let's just preface that.
I know what's going to be asked.
Okay,
but yes,
gotcha.
you don't know.
I have no idea, so at your own risk.
Yeah, really.
Let's go.
And we've talked about some of this already, but here's question 1. Do you remember when we first met and what you thought about me?
Oh, man, that's crazy.
Right?
I actually don't remember specifically the first day that we met.
Nor do I.
But I remember you sitting in the back of the classroom and just being super quiet.
That sounds about right.
And I was like, we could be friends.
Yo,
but like,
I love
he's
that.
so quiet that I don't even know how to approach this. So like, unless he says hi, we're just, you know? And plus you were probably like one of the 2
of course.
person of color.
Of course.
And the whole, you know what I mean? So it was like very few of us. I was like, I gotta be friends with this guy, but it never happened. You know?
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, we did have some classes together.
We did.
I think one of them was a theory class.
Oh, wow.
And this was early theory for me, which I didn't get far in. But I knew who you were because people were already talking about you.
Oh, man.
Like as a freshman. Like, have you heard of this guy? This guy's crazy.
Oh, man, I thought I was going to go completely different direction.
No. This guy sucks. No. There was like, this guy's nuts on guitar. Like, you got to hear him. I was like, oh, for real? Oh, that's crazy. And they were correct.
Oh, man.
But yeah, so like, this is too far to say, but the legend of you was spreading.
That was crazy.
Before I even knew who you were.
That's insane.
And yeah, I remember being in those classes, just like in the back usually.
Yeah.
Kind of checked out or just like, I don't know.
Same. Bro, like my last name starts with a B. So like through my whole school experience, I would always sit up front.
Oh,
so I got to college and I was like,
no
I'm
way.
sitting in the back every single class.
I love that.
And so,
my gosh.
But yeah, that was like my first, I do remember like seeing you and like thinking that, but yeah, you were just super quiet. And I was like, I love that.
Yeah.
A lot of people talked a lot in those classes.
Did. I had nothing to say.
Oh my, bro, me neither. I was like,
y'all can have that.
Yeah. So, yes.
I mean, okay, so like growing up in Cleveland, and of course you had the Teen Talent, which gave you the scholarships, so that seemed like a given. But like, did everyone you went to like school with go to Lee as well? Or was it just
like to high school?
Yeah.
So you're asking like if anybody that I went to school, like in high school and middle school, ended up going to Lee?
Was that just the obvious place to go because it was in town?
No, it actually wasn't because, so I guess to kind of go a little bit into it, we moved to Cleveland in 2010, lived there until like the beginning of 2012. Okay. And then we moved to Knoxville, Tennessee, which is like an hour down the road. But as far as like Cleveland goes, I feel like it is kind of you know what I mean? Because like
totally.
Bible Belt, like right there, you kind of grow up there. Even if you don't go to church, you know what Lee University is. Yeah, you know what I mean? And so when I did high school, that was more in Knoxville, Tennessee. And there I had a few people that I went to high school with that ended up going to Lee.
Okay.
But it was the same thing. Like we didn't become friends up until we went to Lee. Like in high school, we were in just completely different groups.
Totally.
You know? Yeah. So yeah, from the Cleveland perspective, I think there's a thing there where like it's kind of a common thing if you want to stay home and all that. And yeah.
Okay. Why did you want to study music business? Why not just the instrument you were playing?
Really good question. So at the time, I don't know how it is now, but at the time, they only offered either performance or business.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, what am I going to do with a performance degree? Like, I don't want to be a classical, you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
Like, that wasn't me. Mm-hmm. And so the other option was just music business. But for me, it didn't start because of the business part. I actually didn't even want to do the business thing, which ended up being the most useful thing because
so true.
Me playing is like 10% of the work. You know, the other 90 is all of that.
Preach.
Yep. And so it ended up being a blessing. But for me, I just wanted to play guitar.
Yeah.
And I wanted to study jazz specifically. And so what I did was, since the music business program was what I could do like a jazz minor in and still do something that maybe when I got out, I could do something with it if I didn't want to go like the touring route. It was more like the options for me. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I ended up with the music business thing.
Okay.
Good and I'm glad it did.
Yeah.
I'm super glad it did because it was really useful. And back to what we were talking about in college, like, I'm so glad that happened because at the time I didn't know. I thought that getting on tour was just about how you played.
Sure.
I didn't know there was a whole how you handle yourself, how you negotiate, the way that you look on stage, how you interact with people. Like, there's a lot to it that you don't really learn sitting in oral skills or, you know, your private guitar lesson. Like,
totally.
And so it was a blessing to end up there, really by accident in a way. You know what I mean?
So, okay, we're gonna move on.
Yeah.
Question number 2. How do you feel about our relationship now?
Oh, bro, I love it. I know that every time you hit me up, we're definitely gonna have great conversations.
Sure.
And we gotta hang out for a minute.
Oh yeah. It's usually long.
We get real deep.
We do.
But it's either gonna involve coffee or food.
Amen.
2 favorite things. And music.
Yes, Drew. Both of us are very picky eaters.
We are.
I don't know where it comes from for you.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a lot of things my mom made when I was a kid that I didn't like and was forced to eat anyway. Because she wasn't going to make nothing else and we ain't have nothing else in the house. So like, you're going to eat this. So just growing up, be like, okay, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like that. It's just like, there's a long, long list. And the most egregious things that people get onto me for are, I don't like chocolate. I don't like coffee, and I don't like alcohol. All those things are nasty to me.
Wait, you don't like coffee?
I don't.
So our whole relationship has been built on a lie.
I don't. I'm sorry.
Yo, what do you get? Hot chocolate? I don't.
There's another thing. I don't like hot.
Oh, you don't like chocolate?
Like hot drinks.
Oh my god, bro. Tea? No, you don't like tea.
I don't. What I usually get is an iced chai. So like a chai tea is tea twice, whatever. An iced chai with oat milk. That's my go-to everywhere.
Everywhere.
Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're terrible, but that's my baseline. I can get that, and that's fine.
Do you get tired of it? Because that's the only thing you drink when you go to.
No.
And here, in case you guys don't know, when you move to Nashville, you're gonna get coffee with people. Like that is the thing to do.
And it's kind of literally my job.
It really is.
To go out and like get coffee or lunch with someone. Like that's my job. So I'm in a lot of coffee shops, drinking a lot of iced chais.
Nice, you know, all of them. Dang, bro, I feel bad now. We gotta switch it up a little bit now.
No, it's okay.
But yes, we are picky eaters.
We are.
With what you were saying though, for me it was the complete opposite. So you know that you're picky because you try the things that you didn't like.
Correct.
I'm picky because I didn't try them, and by the time I was old, I didn't want to try them. So like for example, a big thing for me is like the texture of things.
Sure. Yeah.
So for example, like tomatoes, I can't do because like. There's just something about chewing on something and then just have the juice just, bro, I can't.
What about grapes?
I never thought about that one, but I mean, I like grapes.
Okay,
but
yeah,
I don't,
sure. Yeah, okay. That's fine.
I think it's different though, because that's
a little different,
That's a bit more of like a.
It's a little more.
It's just a better taste.
That's
for
also
me.
True, yes.
Now, I have to peel them.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I
should have led with that.
Hey, bro, I can't do like the whole, no, I got to peel the grape.
You might have me beat, bro.
I got to peel the grape,
wow.
Bro. Yeah.
Tomatoes have grown on me, but I still hate cherry tomatoes, like the super small ones in the salad. Oh, foul.
Do they taste different from regular
To me,
tomatoes?
they do. Just a little bit worse.
Oh,
like
God.
Regular is like, all right, sure, if it's on a sandwich, I'm not necessarily taking it off, but I don't like ketchup. I won't eat it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, not that I won't eat it. Like if it's on something, I won't request it to be off, but I'm never putting it on anything.
So what about tomato sauce?
I don't love it.
Wow.
And like my mom made spaghetti a lot, maybe once every 2 weeks. So like straight up spaghetti noodle, red sauce, meatballs, or maybe even just ground beef in there. I hate meatballs.
Oh my God.
Hey, I hate spaghetti noodles. I won't even eat the noodle. And like red sauce, I'm off red sauce, like almost exclusively. Sometimes on a pizza, but I still prefer a white sauce.
Man, so all pizzas, white sauce.
If there's an option, yes, great. If it's red, that's okay. As long as it's not too saucy.
If not cheesy bread. Do you like cheesy
Cheesy
bread?
bread's great.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I feel you though.
Yeah.
I feel you. For me, like, and I was asking about the sauce thing specifically because for me it's all about the ratio. So like if there's a pizza that has too much sauce, I can't do it because one, is too much. Two, I know that at some point it's gonna have like a big piece of tomato. So if I don't see the tomato, if it like, for example, I'm telling on myself, but like my wife, there's times where she'll cook and she loves like flavors and like mixing a bunch of stuff. But she knows that like, if I see a piece of tomato, I'm gonna pick it out. And so what she ends up doing is just blending it.
Yeah, of course.
Bro. And so like if I don't see it, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But if I see it, oh, it's game over, bro.
Interesting.
Game over. Same with like pickles. Like there's nothing that I hate more when I get a burger and fries and there's this pickle on the side and the pickle is touching the burger or the fries.
Yeah.
Like I gotta separate that.
That's
and whatever touched it, I ain't gonna eat it. Or if it touched the bun, I'll peel the part of the bun that got touched.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, we're weird.
We are. It is what it is.
And I think that's why we reconnected well. So like when I reached back out to you, because I saw you moved to Nashville, like I guess on Instagram, I was like, and this happens to me literally every time, and maybe you feel this too. Like I get so self-conscious. I'm like, this guy doesn't want to talk to me.
Absolutely.
I shouldn't even reach out. What am I doing? I'm an idiot. But for some reason, I got past that this time. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll reach out. And you hit me back pretty quick. It was like, yeah, dude, I remember you. Like, let's grab coffee. So like, we grabbed coffee at the well. It was a great time. Yeah. Talked for a long time, and we was like, we should do this again.
Yeah, bro.
And it's been sporadic, but like every time we get together, like you're saying, like we talk for a long time. You had me over.
Yeah, you came over for dinner
to talk and
you
have
ate.
dinner. I did.
You did. I was so worried about that. I was like, my wife's just putting in all this work into cooking, and this guy's not gonna eat anything.
It was great. She crushed it.
Yeah, she did really good. She can cook.
But yeah, it's been fun getting to know you and her better. Just
bro.
Yeah, it's been a blessing.
Yeah, I mean, likewise, man. I'm really glad that we were connected, because it's always important to have people that really care about you. You know what I mean? Like, we have in our field, we have a lot of acquaintances and people that we know, and hey, what's up? Yeah, let's hang, let's do it. But at the end of the day, like, if you're just being honest, there isn't a lot of common ground.
Yeah.
And so you'll get together, and I don't know if this happened to you, but like, you'll get together and you'll end up talking like business stuff and music and all that. And it's like, for me, I love talking about music. Like, don't get me wrong.
Of course.
But for me, there has to be the aspect of like us as people and like what you do, like how you're doing, how's life.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's like, for me, that's the job. Like, music is the job. So anytime that I can really connect with people on a personal level is a blessing, Yeah. So I'm glad that we were connected, bro.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
Did I ask question 2 already? Yeah. How do you feel about our relationship now? I feel good. I feel like it's still getting stronger. It's still budding. Yeah. Because like, how long have you been here?
I've been here for a year and a half.
You haven't been here that long.
Yeah.
And we live actually kind of far away from each other. So when we do get together, it's kind of an event.
Yes.
But the time we have spent has been lovely. And like, I just want to keep doing it.
Yeah, bro.
For sure.
Absolutely. Like, Episode 2 is coming out. You don't know it yet, but we will be back.
Sure. Yeah, it's been nice.
Yeah, man.
Let's move on to question 3. How can I be a better friend to you?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man, you're putting me on the spot.
I go there. I'm sorry.
Man, I truly mean this, bro. Like, I don't think there's, that I'm a very honest person, first of all. When I say that there's nothing that I can think of, I really mean it, because one of the things that I really admire about you is that you have, besides your heart and all stuff, when you sit down and people talk, you listen. You know what I mean? It's not like...
That touched me. Thank you.
Bro, it's not like you just look at them and you're like, oh, yeah, and then you're just thinking about 10 million things. Like, you actually sit and engage. Yeah. And that's rare.
Wow, man.
You know what I mean? And so that is really something that I admire about you, bro. And so there's really nothing.
Dude.
I'm not going to ask you about me, because I know you're going to give me a list.
Well, actually, let me scroll. Dude, seriously, thank you for that. That's lovely. I appreciate that. I feel like we just need more time together.
Yeah.
Like, there's an interesting thing in my job where sometimes I'll reach out to an independent artist and like, I have interest in them and what they're already doing. And I think like, how could I help them? How could I add value to what they're doing? How can I help them improve their career, their artistry? And sometimes that looks like getting them in songwriting sessions with like other people, usually around town here in Nashville, to like help them write better songs that speak to their experience right now. But I don't want to be too forward in my thoughts about what they're doing.
Gotcha.
I haven't earned the right to say, actually, the chorus sucks, or like, thematically, this is stupid, no one's gonna care. Like, and I would never say that, even with someone I did build trust with.
I would love to hear you say that.
So I kind of feel like I'm in that place in our relationship. Like, it's starting off great so far, and like I'm excited to see where it goes. But like, I think it's just too early for me to say like, actually, you dropped the ball here. It's like, what? No, like we're still getting to know each other well. So yeah, I think we just need some more room to grow.
We do. We really do, bro. And like you said, it's like, we don't live that close. Like,
yeah, we don't.
Like, for example, like the city, like Nashville from Franklin is like far. So when people say that they live in Franklin, it's almost kind of like not Nashville.
It is not Nashville.
You know? So that's kind of the perspective. And so like, I live more on the east side, and so we do live far. So I think we do need to do more stuff and you need to come over, you always put me on to super dope music. So
oh, bro, thank you.
We got to have like some listening parties and all that stuff, bro.
That song you sent me, Broke, I forget the artist's name.
Oh yeah,
I'm still listening to that.
Oh bro, he's dope.
It's so sick.
He's so
and it's
dope.
like, I don't know, like 6 years old maybe, but it's just like, golly, the groove and the head nod on this is just infectious.
It makes you want to dance, bro.
Yeah. Okay, well shoot, let's move on to question number 4. Oh, Father God. What matters most to you right now?
What matters most? Oh, wow. My wife, obviously. I'm not hesitating on that.
No, yeah.
But obviously with that comes a lot of other things, you know? So I think to put it in like perspective, because there's a lot of things for me, like my wife obviously is my biggest priority in life, you know? And obviously my family, and my faith, like keeping those 3 things and friends that I include them in the family part. Like if you're my friend, you're family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so keeping those things all in a healthy, I guess, relationship,
Yeah.
Is what I care the most about. Because for me, man, like I can, you know, be touring the world and like going to all these different places, playing for like a lot of people and doing super cool stuff. But if the thing back home, which is all those things, is not taken care of, I'm not going to have a good time, bro.
Yeah.
You know, for me, like those things have to be the priority. Like what I do is my job, and all those things have to be kept, you know, intact, I guess.
Yeah.
And so that's those 3, my wife, my family and friends, or my wife, God, family and friends. Sorry, family and friends, but we're
knocking you down.
We got to. So yeah, man, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
My answer for this month, and I'm trying to have a different answer to these for each of the episodes, which has been a little difficult.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But this one is timely. It's finishing well. We were talking before we press record about like, I've got a couple songs. Well, actually, I've got 4 songs. Trying to get done before the end of the year. Doesn't look incredibly likely, but like, thankfully nothing is like incredibly due.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have things done and the book closed on these.
Yeah.
And I'm still gonna fight and try and do that, but we'll see. But just like doing that so I can properly have some time off and relax, be like, look at all that good work I did.
Yeah.
It's done, it's over. We'll start on some new stuff when we get back in the office in the new year. So yeah, I'm very concerned with that in a work sense, but also for this podcast, this is the last record I'm doing.
Wow.
And I would love to have this one and another one I have yet to edit finished by December 31st at 11:59 p.m.
Lovely.
Want to have it done this year. Maybe not all the social clips and all the stuff like that, but just like the big edits, want to have them finished just to say, I did all that in a year, or really 9 months.
That's crazy.
But yeah, just finishing things well matters a lot to me right now. And just trying to keep my head above water doing it. Like,
absolutely. It's not easy.
It's not. And I'm putting most of these deadlines on myself, but I think it's still healthy, just like giving myself some purpose for the moment and trying to figure out how to do all this stuff and balance it well.
That's amazing, bro.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing like setting out to do a project and finishing it. You know what I mean? The sense of accomplishment. I don't know what like Enneagram and all that stuff that you are, but we'll get into it the next episode, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But for me, man, like I'm huge on like accomplishments and finishing things.
Okay.
And so if I don't finish stuff, it'll drive me nuts, bro. Sure. I don't feel like I can go on to the next thing unless I finish. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so that's really dope. And you did it, bro. Like,
well, if you're watching this, I did do it.
Yes. Obviously, the work stuff. We'll see how that goes out. We'll see. But yeah, man, that's cool. Yeah, I love it.
I want to go back a little bit to your answer and just like the order of wife, God, friends, family, and all that. How do you do your best to keep faith alive, as busy as you are, as many people as you're seeing, like as much stuff as you're doing?
Yeah.
how do you keep that at the forefront?
It's tough, bro. And I guess I would have to make a little adjustment because obviously if I don't have God first,
we're readjusting
all the other things can't really happen. So really, sorry, Mel, but God is first. Yeah. But it's tough. And I think the answer to that, man, is my wife, bro. Like my wife is like my rock when it comes to that.
She's back at number one.
Oh, I know. It's like, they're really right there, bro.
Yeah.
It's a lot of competition. But yeah, man, I think it's a mix of that. Like for me, knowing that like when I'm out in the secular world and doing all this stuff, it's like, yeah, I hate that.
Yeah.
But that's what people classify it as,
totally,
you know, especially in church. But knowing that like it's a different environment than like what I grew up in is a totally different environment than people think it is.
Sure.
You know, because there's a lot of misconception of like the things that go on. That's another story, right?
I'm sure it is.
But for me, oh yeah, bro. Like for me, the healthy aspect of it is knowing that like back home, I have somebody that loves me and that is praying for me every day and all that. And with that also comes like our church family and like the people that we connect with. And, you know, all those things are super important for us because we're already super limited on the time that we have to hang with people.
Totally.
And so we are very picky and very intentional with the people that we spend our time with. And it's, for us, we found that it has to be those type of people that are kind of in the same mindset. Because otherwise, like for me, for example, it would be very hard to keep my faith at a place where it should be if I wasn't surrounded by all those people back home.
Yeah.
Because you go out and tour and you meet all kinds of different people, all kinds of different beliefs.
Sure, yeah.
A lot of people don't even believe. So it's like you get a lot of those. And so if you don't have a solid foundation back home, it becomes a little bit more tricky, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, that's how I keep it. My wife is the best, bro. And she's been keeping me very focused.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on.
Yeah.
Question 5. Oh, dear.
Oh, gosh.
What are you holding on to that's holding you back?
Wow. Jeez. I wish you would have sent me these before.
Well, no, I wanted this reaction.
No. Something that I'm holding on to.
What are you holding on to that's holding you back?
That's holding me back.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I can go if you want a second to think.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It is the idea that there is a correct path or answer to anything in life.
Yeah.
Something that was just very hard for me after the divorce, just thinking like, oh man, I'm taking steps back. Like, I'm behind now. And even sometimes in work, it's just like, oh man, I wish this artist was at this place now, or like, am I finding enough new artists to keep myself relevant or useful at the company? And even like bigger general American dream things, like, oh, I'm about to be 30 in a couple of years, like, gotta have a house, gotta have a wife and kids and blah, 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 gotta have cars. It's like, all that's made up, man.
Yeah.
All of that is just
Absolutely.
made up. Why am I hanging myself by the idea of a correct answer for things?
Dude, that's really good. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I think for me, it has been like the thought of having to accomplish a specific thing by a certain age.
Sure.
And with that specifically, knowing that like growth is not linear.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? That's been the biggest lesson for me, bro. Cause like for me, I thought that, you know, I got out of college, probably go on tour with a big artist, which is what happened. And I'm super grateful.
Yeah.
But after you get that, you start to think that from here on up, it's just there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not really like the case. And like, thankfully, like I'm okay and nothing has happened to where it has led me to that place. But like, I'm a planner, right? Like I'm always thinking about like what the next thing that I'm gonna do, how is it gonna affect me in the next 5 to 10 years? And so with that, you start to get a lot of like questions and doubts and all this stuff. And what if this doesn't happen this way? And at the end of the day, like things are gonna happen the way they were meant to happen. The Lord is gonna do what He is gonna do. You know what I mean? And I feel like for me, there is a sense of like letting go of the idea that I have to make something happen. Sure. Like knowing that the Lord is gonna make it happen. Like if he said that he was gonna do something, it's just gonna be done, you know? And so for me, that's been like, that's something that I'm still in the process of letting go of the idea of trying to control everything and the way it goes and the way it moves. Because at the end of the day, you can't. Yeah. You know?
Man, there is a trinket on my desk at work, and it comes from one of my favorite YouTube creators. His name is MKBHD. He does a lot of tech reviews.
Oh, dope.
And he started like this merch line with this company named D Brand. And they sell a bunch of stuff. But one of the things they sell is a Rubik's Cube. And they have one that's, I think, the traditional colors, but they have one that's all like matte black. And I love like black or like matte black stuff. It's just like so cool to me.
Yeah.
So I bought it, and you put little stickers on the cubes, and they're just like different tech shapes. Mm-hmm. So like maybe there's a Game Boy, or maybe there's an AirPod or something. So you put it on there and it's all done. And then like you can just shift it as you want, but there's no correct formation. There's no answer.
It's
crazy. Just like, these are just a bunch of shapes.
It is what
and
it
like
is.
You can just play with it, and like, yeah, it is what it is. Like you land on something some way, and that's how it is at that point. But then you take it up, you shift it again, and it lands on that at that point. It's just like, I love this as a device for how I should kind of live life. Like there's no right answer. It's just cool stuff.
Yeah. And always know that like one thing leads you to the next. You know what I mean? Because one of the things that I struggled with was like not knowing what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that with what I'm doing now, I don't have to worry about what's coming up next, because that's already being taken care of as I'm doing this. Whew. You know what I mean?
Preach.
So that's huge, bro. So I love that. I'm gonna have to give you that.
Hey, you should.
Send me the link.
Okay. Hey, we're gonna take another quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Another great clap.
Yes.
Nico, how you doing so far?
I'm doing great, bro. We're having a blast.
I love that.
Yeah.
You should do more of these.
We do. We should do more of these.
I didn't say we. I said you should do more.
Oh, I should do more?
You should do more. I think you're a good guest. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Thank you. Thank you.
We're halfway through the questions. We're at number 6. And this one's an interesting one for me all the time, at least. Mm-hmm. When was the last time you made yourself proud?
Oh, wow. Actually, fairly recent. Not because of anything that I did, but because I was just sitting there, and I never realized that I could be in that place. But a couple of weeks ago, we did the Latin Grammys with Fonzie.
That's amazing.
We were kind of like, I guess, I don't know what you would call it in those two things, but kind of like headlining, I guess. Like we were closing out the night, right? And bro, it was just one of those things where like...
That is nuts.
Bro, like just performing at something like that is, you know, has its pressures, but then being like the closer, like the artist that everybody's waiting to see.
Yeah.
And that was like insane, bro. Like I was sitting there, and they had like one of these stages where it like spins.
Sick.
And so, bro, as I was spinning and we were getting to start, I was like for a moment, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was like, this is insane. And so I think that's the latest career moment that I am proud of, just because I never thought that I could be there, man. I'm from, like, my country has like 3 million people. It is not big at all. Mm. So the fact that I'm blessed to be able to do something like that was huge for me.
Yeah.
You know? So career-wise, I'll go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that the best show this year?
So for that, we just did a performance.
Okay.
The show-wise, we had a lot of really good ones.
Okay.
Like South America is always fun, bro.
Really?
Because like fans are incredible, and they engage, like different continents and cultures react different to shows. And in South America, they're all in, bro. like engaging and singing and like all this stuff. So it's always fun to do shows like that where you don't feel like people are just kind of staring at you. Totally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we had a lot of really good shows this year, but that performance specifically, we did like a medley of 3 songs because it was his first hit, the Despacito, which was obviously the pivotal part of not only his career, but like the whole Latin industry as a whole. And then one of his latest hits. So it was like hit.
Yeah.
And so we kind of hit like a bunch of moments in his career and all that. And so it was super cool from that point.
I'm sure, I haven't seen the performance, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sure that arrangement was wonderful.
It was amazing, bro. It was amazing. Rob the MD did an incredible job. He's a beast. And so it was fun. It was fun. And just looking at it and like, it was random because like, you know, you have like the main rehearsals and all that. And there you just see everybody. So like Mark Anthony, Bon Jovi was there. I was literally like 2 feet away from him. Like insane.
Wow.
Like people that you grow up listening to and you see them in that environment where they're not necessarily dealing with fans. And so like they're comfortable and you get to see like how they are with people, you know? Because it's a different vibe.
Yeah.
And so it was super cool to like see them and just, for the most part, everybody being super cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's great.
So that was it.
Do you have any, not necessarily worst show of the year, but just most unique experience?
Wow. Most unique. I don't even know if I guess I can't say this because they're never going to see it. But we did a show, bro.
Oh dear.
Yeah. We did a show this past run. We were in, I think it was Chile. I think it was.
Okay.
It was towards the end. I'm pretty sure it was like the last show that we did. Mm-hmm. And bro, so backstory, Fonsi, like back when, like in the prime Latin time, it wasn't the whole like as far as like the market itself, the main thing as the pop thing wasn't the reggaeton and like all the urban stuff that you hear now.
Sure.
Back then it was all ballads.
Okay.
Like love songs and like super deep stuff. And so like Fonsi has like a bunch of those that is like bangers.
Yeah.
And so during a lot of the portions of the show, a lot of people propose, right?
Okay.
Sometimes it's by arrangement where like, you know, they let management know and we make a moment out of it. And other times it's just more of like it's spontaneous thing.
Yeah.
So we're doing the show and when we get, we do a lot of stuff. We do like the Latin, like dance, reggaeton, like there's a lot of different aspects to the show. Yeah. But when we get to the romantic part where we hit all those ballads, that's when people normally, a lot of times propose or do something sweet for their spouses or whatever.
Yeah.
On this particular show, somebody decided to propose to their girlfriend, but it wasn't planned. And so like the dude just kind of held up the ring like this. And Fonsi just so happened to see it and pointed out, they're like, okay, well, let's make a moment out of this. Problem is that the dude gets on one knee and we don't like, because of the lights and all stuff, we can see what's happening, but kind of limited. And so him trying to interact with people, they're like, so did she say yes? Like it?
Yeah.
And the girl was like,
oof.
She was like, I need to think about it. And we were like, oh no. And bro, dude is like front row. Everybody has seen it. And at that point, what do you do on stage? Because like people can see your reaction. And she was mouthing like, I need to think about it. He didn't give me time to think. And we're like, do we keep this moment going? Should we move on?
Oh no.
Like at that point, we got to do the romantic set. Like
that's
we gotta
so
do
true.
It, yeah. And so that was the most interesting one.
Oh my
I've never seen that happen.
That's
so
dreadful.
I don't think that wedding is going on.
Yeah. No.
If it is, good luck to you guys if you happen to see this.
I think this is just a tip. Don't propose there at any sort of big like sporting event or concert. Just don't. Just don't.
You
just
better
in case.
Be sure. Like you better have no doubt.
Y'all better be married already.
Hey, bro. Straight up.
God, it's terrifying.
That will forever be a memory that I have because I have never seen so many different reactions at the same time. It was every person that you looked at was like a whole different mood.
God, it's like a Renaissance painting or something.
Bro, exactly. It was wild. So that was probably the most interesting show moment that we had this last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will answer this question in a second, but I just thought of a different one. When you are out with someone like Fonzie or just anyone you're playing for, I'm sure you've got solos, and I'm sure the audience is expecting to hear the song in some way.
Yeah.
How do you find the place to be creative in your own way with someone else's music?
That's crazy. There's a lot of aspects to that. When it comes to the soloing part,
sure.
I always, and I guess for both, but like you always have to find a middle ground between what the people want to hear, because you have to think that like, you know, for me, I went to music school and I love all these kinds of music, like intricate stuff. But if you're lucky, maybe 5% of the people that are on that arena or stadium or whatever are probably going to get it.
Sure.
The rest is just going to fly over their heads. And the main point, like the reason why I'm there is not just to play, it's to entertain.
Totally.
And so you have to find a balance between three things. One, obviously what the artist is and what he expects. Two, what you would do. But three, what people would pay the most attention to.
Okay.
And so when it comes to the solo part, thankfully for me, Fonzie gives me a lot of liberty when it comes to that. And he trusts my decisions when it comes to that stuff. And so a lot of them, I will keep them like as close to the original as possible. I might do like a couple things differently.
Sure.
But I think it's more of the feel that I'll add to it. Because at the end of the day, like anybody can play notes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the way that you interpret something and in the moment specifically, like with the romantic stuff, there is a certain expression that has to come out besides whatever musical decision you make in order to make that like an impactful moment. You know what I mean? And so that's on the solo section. The rest, when you playing the songs and stuff, it varies from artist to artists, but with Fonzie, you get some liberty with the stuff. As long as you get the main parts, you're good.
Okay.
But just make it, all you have to do is make sure that the people are able to digest what you played and it's not a distraction for everybody else. Because, you know, them, and I'm not saying everybody, but the ones that don't know music, if you do something different, it's going to distract them because they're used to hearing it a certain way. And if you do something different, they're not going to stop to think he just did it a different way. It's like, what was that?
Yeah.
And that's going to take away from the whole moment.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
so
so interesting. Yeah.
So it's a lot of balancing stuff. And it really comes from like knowing the artist and what they want, right? But also getting familiar with the audiences that you play for. You know what I mean? So you look around, you see what people vibe to throughout the show, and you can kind of get an idea of the things that they respond to the most.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I asked because I was just thinking about different styles of music and going to see them live. So like, I love EDM, so I'll see some EDM people. And most recently I saw Zed at Red Rocks, which was great.
I bet. I love Zed.
But like, he'll play maybe a verse and a chorus and a drop of the regular song and mix it in different small ways. But like, you know, okay, yeah, this is Spectrum. I know what drop is coming.
Right.
But then he'll flip it. Like he'll do something crazy, something you would never see coming, but with those lyrics.
Yeah.
And I love that. But like if I go to like a worship show or whatever, they're probably gonna play it like the record. Maybe it'll be longer for more, I don't know, opportunities for spontaneity to arise. But like for the most part, it's not gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
If I go to like a gospel show, it's probably gonna be crazy. Arrangements are gonna be sick. And even like some CCM shows are getting to the place where like maybe we'll play the verse and the chorus normal, but like we'll arrange it in a much different way. I think I prefer that. Like give me some of what I know, but shake it up for a good portion of it. So it's just like, oh, dude, this is nuts. I'm glad I'm seeing this show. Like it's different from the record. So yeah, I was curious, like what that balance would be for someone like Fonzie.
Yeah, totally. And I think obviously it has to do a lot with like the culture of whatever industry you're in. Like for example, like when I did K-pop, like that was very different because they expect you to just play. Okay. Like you make it interesting and you like I don't know if you've ever gone to like a K-pop show.
I have not yet.
Bro. Because somebody like you, for example, that enjoys arrangements and just hearing things different in a record, you would love it because that's their whole thing, man. Because it's like they want to offer an experience. It's not just going to see the artist. It's totally. Like, for me, if I wanted to listen to the songs, I can just put it in my car and not have to pay money. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way that I look at it. Yeah. Obviously, I've grown from that in a lot of ways because now I see the importance of finding a good balance.
Sure.
But I do believe that it has to be like a certain balance of those two, obviously. You know what I mean? And so I think it depends on that. And so like Latin industry, for example, they're just now starting to get used to the whole even like live band thing. Like for the urban stuff that you hear nowadays, a lot of them are just used to like DJs and it's kind of that. And then it's been now in the last few years where they've incorporated bands and like live hits and all stuff. That's a very new thing.
Interesting.
At least for the urban part, right? And so, it's just about culture and just knowing how each industry reacts, you know? I know if I'm going to do like a CCM hit, the first thing that I'm going to do is learn all the songs. And then if they ask for something, I'll do it.
Sure.
But I'm not going to unless they ask.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
K-pop, if like you're expected to do something different as soon as you get in. You know what I mean? So
maybe I should go.
Bro, it was so fun, awesome. Bro. It was amazing.
Let me finally answer this question. When was the last time I made myself proud? It's got to be right now. Just like the finality of this being the last record of an idea I had in March and putting it on paper and thinking about it and dreaming about it and then recording the first episode in April and being way over my head and just trying to figure everything out and failing at literally every turn. But it was all a learning experience for the next record. And to get here and to just finally start to feel confident about where I'm placing things and like some of the visual stuff and recording. It's just like, dang, man, I did this.
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, bro. You almost wish you would have done it sooner.
Almost.
You know? Bro, that's huge, man.
Yeah, man.
And you've been busy. Like your work keeps you busy. So the fact that you were able to finish this in, what you said, 9 months?
Yeah.
It's a big deal, bro.
Yeah, man.
You should be proud of yourself.
Thank
that's crazy.
I think one element of creativity that's very important is finishing, of course, but even more important is letting the world see it.
Yeah.
So I'm saying this right now. I will not get in my head and think, oh, this sucks. I shouldn't put this out, blah, 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 whatever. I mean, if you're watching it now, it's going to be out.
It's going to be out. There's nothing you can do at that point.
And that's the last step of any creative venture, like putting it out for other people to see it and judge it.
And that's the hardest part.
It sure is.
It's the hardest part. You start to realize that the process, like the setup, the editing, all that, that was easy compared to hitting
the courage of hitting
bro when you hit that mouse and it's done. Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. Okay, let's finally move on. Jeez. What was the last piece of art you consumed that inspired you?
Oh, wow. Last piece of art that inspired me. Man, I was gonna go with the banana taped to the thing, but I don't think I'm gonna go with that. Which somebody ate it apparently. I don't know if you saw that. You know that it sold for like however many millions or billions.
It's insane.
Anyway, I guess whoever bought it ate it. But anyway, I don't know, man. Do you have one?
I do.
Okay.
And I try not to come up with answers before I get here. I want to be as in the moment as you are. Even though I created the questions, I try not to think about them before. But I did want to write this down because I didn't want to get it wrong. There are actually 2 YouTube channels that I think make great content.
Awesome.
One of them, his name is Andres Vidoza. He's from Canada, or he lives in Canada. I don't know where he's from. But he's a tech YouTuber that just makes really crispy videos.
Yeah.
The cinematography is excellent. Sound is always great, and that's important to me. It just looks like a clean, wonderfully done video. And I think he releases one every Sunday. And it's just like, this dude has it all. And like, I very, very much try not to say, oh, I wish I could do that job, because I know I have one of the best jobs ever. But still, like, this guy just living in Canada, recording tech videos. He's got like Apple devices everywhere, and like he's building his own computer. It's just like,
that's crazy.
This guy's got the freaking life.
Right.
So I just love watching his videos, and I think they are truly like art pieces by the time I'm watching them. Like, so much care and craft is going into all of these.
Man.
It's freaking insane. And then the second, a guy named Jake Frew, or Frew, I don't know, Frew. I'll put a link to his thing. Also, like, very cinematic shorts that he just puts on YouTube. And sometimes he'll explain, like, hey, here's how I did this, and like all the behind the scenes stuff. I was doing a lot of research for how to record things for this. Yeah. And none of my stuff is nearly on the level of either of these two. It's just like, these are really good practices. And like, I just love what he does. He kind of makes, I don't know, just like thought-provoking, abstract short films.
That's it.
And just puts them up, and it's like, yeah, here's what I was thinking about. And then usually there's a behind the scenes, like, yeah, here's how I did it. I'm like, God, this guy's freaking great. So those two YouTube channels are.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That, I honestly had nothing but that, not to copy you, but I would kind of go that direction because, as I said earlier, my wife and I just love to sit down and like watch TV, like do stuff. There's specifically these two channels that we follow. One, the guy's name is Nathaniel something, but he's basically like documenting his whole journey of like moving from the States to France, first to Paris, then got tired of the city, and now is living in like the countryside and all that. But every episode, like YouTube video, is like a short, and it tells like his whole story, the reason why he left, the reason why he, all that stuff. So he go, so that's really cool stuff. And it has kind of like a vintage look to it.
Oh, I love
that. It's like, it looks crazy. Like the colors are super vibrant, but it still looks like super high quality. It's insane. So that, but then which obviously is inspiring, but then I don't know if you're hip to Yes Theory.
No.
Oh, bro, you gotta watch it.
Put me on.
It's like, it's basically like a group of guys that started a YouTube channel just to inspire people and connect people around the world.
Whoa.
And so they just travel and like interview people, and like, I don't know, they'll do like random things where like they'll get dropped in, I don't know, like China with no dollars, and they have to make it like 3 days or something like that.
Sounds like a bad idea.
And it's an extremely bad idea. But they'll do it, and like along the way they, meet people, and the whole idea is that there's good people everywhere. And they make friends like through the process, and they stay at people's houses that, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's all stuff like that. And for me, it's just so inspiring because the world is not the best place right now. You know what I mean? And so with everything that's happening, seeing that like even across the world, like there's still like good people. Yeah. For me, it's just really inspiring. Dude. You know what I mean? Past the traveling part and all that. Yeah. Bro, you watch one episode and it's like, you get hooked, bro, because it's like super uplifting.
I love that.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll have to check it out. And if you remember the last name of the other guy, send me the link and I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll find it.
People can check all those channels out.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next one. Number 8. Who do you know personally that inspires you to be better?
Oh, wow. Does this have to be like a famous person, or it can be whoever?
Anyone you know personally.
Anyone that I know personally. Obviously, first, my wife.
Sure, yeah.
My parents, for sure. I mean, it's like, I'm blessed where like my family is like, everybody that I look at, they're just exceptional people for the most part. At least the ones that I keep close.
We're going to name the ones who aren't.
Exactly. We'll put a link to all their Facebook pages. Yeah. But really, man, like, obviously like my dad, like as far as like to be a man and past like providing and like all these things that people talk about, I've like, now that I meet other people, I really see the way that he raised me, past just like providing for your wife and like taking care of your home, like that is important.
That's good.
But if you don't know how to serve them well and how to treat them and how to, you know, be there for the people around you, none of that means anything.
You're preaching, bro.
You know what I mean? And so
yeah,
for like, as far as that goes, like my dad, man, he's like the best in the world, you know? And so him, my wife, obviously. And yeah, man, I'm one of those people that like, I'm inspired by almost everybody that I meet, whether it's for the good or for the bad, what not to do and what to do. Yeah. That's a different story, but it's like, they're equally beneficial, I feel like.
I think you're right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, the biggest lessons in my life have been, like, on what not to do versus what to do. You know what I mean?
Yes, totally.
So, I'm going to go with that. Let's go with my dad, just to make it simple.
I love it.
Let's go with that.
I think you're the first person to answer dad.
Oh, really?
Or maybe not. You'll see.
Oh, man. Somebody else
I don't remember
Jesus
all the
episodes.
No, I don't think anyone said Jesus.
Really?
Which is, I'm proud of all of them for not just taking that.
Hey, I mean, that would have been a good pick. That would have been a really good pick. But like, yeah, that's kind of a given.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you believe it should inspire you.
My answer for this episode is a mixing engineer that I and Centricity have been blessed to work with. His name is Warren David. Maybe you know him, maybe you don't. He mixes a bunch of CCM stuff, a bunch of country stuff, both stereo and Atmos.
Oh, sick.
For anyone who's watching that doesn't know the difference. Stereo is basically how we all have listened to music for the past, 100 years. Dolby Atmos is a relatively new audio format that places different sounds in different places, not just left and right for your ears, but like if you were sitting in a room like this, they would have extra speakers around to put extra special sounds in different places, blah, 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 whatever.
It's crazy.
Yes, very wild. And Warren is just a brilliant producer and a brilliant mixer, but also just a kind, wonderful, gentle man. At the beginning of this year, I create goals to accomplish, work goals for Centricity. And one of my goals was to just learn more about the mixing process. Like, I don't know much. I'm not that technical. I'm just trying to get better in my craft.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, well, what if I were to like reach out to a mixer and maybe I could like spend some time with them, sit in on some sessions or something. I don't know. And my first and last thought was I should reach out to Warren. Like, he's got a great like teaching heart. He's a good hang. He's got a great spot. I was like, maybe he'd do it. But kind of like with you, I was like, I shouldn't reach out to this guy. Yeah. I suck. He doesn't care about me. But once again, I got over that thought. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I reached out to Warren immediately. He was like, yeah, dude, I'd love to.
That's awesome.
Love to help teach you some stuff. Like, come to hang and I'll just work through some things and you can ask me questions as I go along. So the first one I went to, it was just some stereo stuff. And I was trying not to be too annoying, but just like, okay, why are you doing this? Like, what's this? And like, how do you start stuff? And him who's just like, it's muscle memory for him now. Yeah. He would be like, oh yeah, I should explain that. Okay, yeah, I'm doing this because this, and this. And I think the biggest lesson I learned overall was just like, he's just trying to enhance the moments and eliminate distractions. And even just that ideal helped me understand mixing better. Yeah. Because even though I work in the industry, I think I was guilty of thinking like, okay, mixing and the mastering process, that's just like the cherry on top. That's just the extra little thing that we need. We need people who specify in that, and maybe it's essential, maybe it's not. Yeah. But like getting in with Warren, seeing like, oh my gosh, there's so much creativity that goes along with this, and like so much heart and care and effort that he's putting into each of these songs, and like so many different genres, but like he has to know how to work well in all of them, and like what they're trying to do and what emotion they're trying to convey, and how can he get more out of what the producer has put there. It's just like, man, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this. And he was just so good and gracious to have me sit in and explain all that stuff. Another time I went, we worked with some Atmos mixes he was doing, and just like hearing yet another element of how to be creative in that workspace was just like, man, I want to do what I do as well as this guy's doing this thing. And like, as much heart as he has in this, how can I get better?
Yeah.
So yeah, Warren's my answer this month.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
That's super dope. Yeah, I've always admired the people that do the whole Atmos thing, because
it's nuts.
Mixing that, bro, gotta be a headache, man. It's like you have so many options.
Yeah.
Like, unless you really know, and I'm one of those people that, like, when I create something, I change my mind like 10,000 times.
Sure. Yeah.
And like nothing's ever good enough. So if you have that personality and you mix Atmos, you probably have a lot of room for growth, and it's gonna push you. Yeah. Because you have endless options, bro. And so like, if you let yourself like deviate from what you know it should be, you're gonna be there forever. Yeah. Oh so gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if we have enough time on the disc for the next two, so we're gonna take another quick break, and we'll be right back.
Let's do it.
Welcome back. We had to take another quick break because we just got a little too long-winded and some random stuff, which is not a problem. I love that. That's what the show is for.
Absolutely.
But we're back on track. I promise. We are.
100%.
Question number 9.
9, wow.
Do you still believe in love?
Oh, man. Yes. Like, specifically, I mean, I guess you don't have to specify. I mean, love is love. Yes.
Okay.
I've been married for 1.5 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1.5 years. It's okay. She knows as well as I do, so she's not going to get mad at this. Yeah, March of 2023.
Cool. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah, almost 3 years, I guess. Yeah, man, it's crazy to like come from like a super horrible relationship before marrying my wife. Mm-hmm. And then seeing what marriage should truly be. Not just marriage, but like spending time in your life with somebody else. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's beautiful. Obviously, it's a lot of work, just like anything in life. But it's one of those things that, like, when you marry the right person, specifically speaking on marriage, like, it becomes easier. You know what I mean? Amen. And obviously, for me, it's been 1.5 years. It hasn't been that long. But in that 1.5 years, we both learned a lot about ourselves in the context of marriage, which is completely different as an individual person. Yeah. And it's been amazing, bro. Yeah. It's been so dope. I think that's one of the reasons why, besides the planes that I hate, that's one of the main reasons why I love being home, man. Like, what do you call it? The way our home is, it's just peaceful, and it's a joy to come back to every single day. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so every time I leave, no matter for how long it is, I can't wait until the day that I come back. You know? So to answer your question, yes.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Man, I've had a lot of emphatic yeses, and I think that's beautiful. I love it. Yeah. For this episode, what is my answer? I want to say yes. I don't know why I wouldn't say yes.
But if you don't, it's okay.
Yeah, it's a yes. And I think some of it is the holiday season. Yeah. I feel just like a love and a kinship and a connectedness around that. And oh gosh. Yeah. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. It's just there. It's just around. It's just kind of just in the air.
Absolutely.
Like you were saying, like it's kind of a hard time in the country right now. But just like togetherness is something we can agree on. Mm-hmm. We want to strive to be more connected. Yeah. And I think there's love in that feeling. Yeah. And I think holidays, not for everyone, but like they can bring people together. And that's just a step closer to seeing someone else, someone different in a new light.
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, the potential for love is always there.
Yeah, totally.
It's just, can you realize it?
And also, like, even from like the friendship perspective, like, we all need each other, man. Like, I'm sure you have, I for sure have, been in places where you're surrounded by so many people and it feels so lonely, bro.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so at those moments is really like who you surround yourself with that truly make the difference. And so it can feel like, love is not a thing anymore or whatever. But once you start to get out of that mindset and you surround yourself with true people that like really care about you, start to realize that the world isn't so much of a bad place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you just got to find your crew and your friends and really be intentional about who you spend time with, because that affects you like at all times.
Yeah.
I
think something I've been recently realizing and trying to be more passionate about is like, how can I tell people I love them without using the words?
Yeah.
Because sometimes using the words gives me anxiety. Like, maybe it's still just in like a small amount of PTSD from divorce stuff, or just, I don't know, just like hearing the words or saying them, like I have a pause before I can really understand what's happening. And like, can I receive this? Can I say it back? But if I can show people, obviously, with action, like, I'm doing this because I love you, and that's obvious.
Bro.
I'm becoming more and more passionate about doing things like that.
Yes. You can talk all day, but if it doesn't reflect it, so that's so important, bro. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, here we are. Question number 10. This is it.
I almost don't want it to end.
Almost.
I want to get back to my wife. I do. So,
what do you want to be remembered for?
Man, really good question. I actually think about this every day. So that might be the
day.
easiest. Yeah, bro.
Wow.
For me, it's super important, man. Like, once I got on tour, bro, like I said, I have heard of Fonsi and like listened to his music for a long time. And once I got there, bro, like I was so happy. Obviously, like it was once in a lifetime opportunity. I got in when I was 24. I was fresh. Like I was definitely the youngest guy in the crew.
Yeah.
But then from the professional side, I got to a place so early in life that people take years to get to. And I realized that where I thought happiness was not there, bro. Not, like certain things in my life changed, of course.
Yeah.
But my life as a whole, like my day-to-day problems, like joys, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was all the same.
Yeah.
So you get, like, I got to a place super early, and I'm not saying that I made it, but in my mind, what I thought I was going to be doing, I don't know, like 10, 15 years from now, it happened right as soon as I graduated. And I got there and I realized that like everything that I had worked for to get to that place in college that I thought was going to be like the key to like being happy and successful and all that stuff.
Yep.
It wasn't there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it's amazing that you get to do those things, but like happiness itself is not in those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so the thing that I want to be remembered by is just this, bro. Like being there for friends, meeting new people, like the interactions that I have with everybody that I meet. Like, I don't ever want to, get to the day that I die and people be like, oh yeah, he played for so-and-so and so and was an amazing player and all that.
Yeah.
Man, if I wasn't good to my family and my wife and my friends and all that, that doesn't mean anything. Like the career stuff can go out the trash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would like people to remember me for obviously showing the love of Jesus, but being a good person, loving, having a good experience with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that is the reason why I think about it every day, man, because I realize that like the thing that I've been waiting for my whole life in terms of happiness and fulfillment and all stuff, He wasn't there, man.
Yeah.
It's all back home, bro. As long as you take care of the home, everything else would come. You know what I mean?
Man, that's freaking good, man.
So that was it for me.
Jeez, I was having this exact conversation with someone this morning at breakfast, talking with a young artist who looks like she's about to sign a record deal with a company, and like she was saying, like, man, I wanted this for so long, and just like it looks like I'm about to have it. Like, what's my life gonna look like? I'm like, I went through that in my own way of like landing at Centricity in A&R. The only job that I found that I thought I could be good at that, I want to chase that. Getting there so early, it's just like, oh, who am I? What am I doing now? Like, what am I chasing after? Like, what's my purpose? It's like, wow, I thought life would just be so much easier after I got the thing I was coveting and desiring for so long and chasing. Like, it fueled me. Mm-hmm. So when you have it, like when you eat the meal and like the fuel is gone in 24 hours, you crap it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the next meal? Where are you going next?
Yeah.
Man, it's such a strange realization. And I think like even, at least for me, talking about it, I don't want to come across as like ungrateful or just like, I don't even know what the word is.
100%.
But just like, it's such a rare occurrence to get the thing you want.
Yeah.
Especially something as big as this, a career thing. And so many people just don't get close. And my heart breaks for them. Yeah. But like to get there and to talk about it and feel like, oh, like this isn't what I thought it was. It's like, shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
You're doing the thing everyone wants to do. But still, it's just like, man, this can be a real struggle. And it can spiral for sure. It's just like, okay, like, who am I? What's my self-worth? Like, if it's all wrapped up in this, if this goes away, then I must go away too. And that's terrifying. Exactly. But like, for me, when I got there, it was grounding myself at home. It was being like, I'm going to make sure the relationships that I start are plentiful. Like, my job as an A&R is to deliver hit songs for the record label. That's the 30,000 foot view. But if you get even a foot lower, what I really want to do is just like create and sustain relationships, mainly with my artists, for as long as we live. Absolutely. Like, whether I stay there or they go or whatever happens, like I want us to be cool. Yeah. Because like what we built was stronger than the work connection. Yeah. That's the thing that keeps me going. Yeah. So I got the job, like, okay, now what do? I invest in the relationships and I keep those strong. And I try to do that everywhere, at work, at home, friendships. Like, okay, this is the thing that's keeping me moving. It's not me chasing after the next accolade or the next big thing. It's just investing in the relationships around me. So maybe that's a tip for anyone watching. Like if you're chasing the thing and you get it, look to relationships, start investing in those. That's where the real money is made. Absolutely.
And we're not saying like, don't chase it because it's not worth it. Of course. Bro, and I just want to make that clear because like,
thank you.
For me specifically, I'm so grateful and I'm so happy where I'm at.
Yes, same.
Besides like being grateful, I'm happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too.
But you start to realize that like your work doesn't really fix your problems. Like, you know what I mean? And so that's more of the thing that we're talking about. And so it's really important to like be present at home, wherever you live, with your family, your friends. Because when things happen, that's all you got, bro.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, just wanted to clarify that.
That's good.
But
yeah, let me answer this question.
Please. I was going to ask you.
Okay, there's a little bit of setup for this. I have been asking a lot of people, what do you think makes a man? And there have been a lot of good answers. Some recurring ones have been emotional intelligence or humility or just like saying you'll do something and then doing it. A lot of great answers. Someone asked me like, what do you think makes a woman? I was like, oh goodness.
Wow.
I don't know. But my first two thoughts were someone who is strong and someone who leads with grace and truth. Yeah. So the second half of that is what I want to be remembered for, even though I'm not a woman. Yeah. I think those are wonderful qualities, like someone who leads with grace and truth. So like, I want to be honest as often and whenever I can, but I never want to be hurtful.
Yeah.
That's why the grace comes first. Just like, hey, I love you. Going back to what I was just saying, like, here are the actions that prove that.
Right.
Maybe I don't even say the words. And following that, let's improve on this together. And like, not pointing fingers, just like, you suck. Just like, this hurt me. Or like, I see you do this. Like, can I help you do this? Like, I don't know. Just, I think it's very noble, someone who graciously corrects and walks with them to fix the thing that may have hurt them. Yeah.
That's beautiful, bro. That's a really good one. Man, we're in a time where I feel like after the pandemic, everything changed for everybody. When it comes to like the way that we view life and all that. For me, I was in a completely different headspace where like, I didn't really, like my family and I have always been close. I've always loved everybody around me. Yeah. But I was never the best at being intentional with the moments with them. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like nowadays everybody thinks differently and thinks more in a deeper way of all those questions. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I can assure you that like 5-6 years ago, my answer probably wouldn't have been the same. Yeah. It would have been related a lot more to my career and the things that I've accomplished and all that. You know, so it's like, we talked a lot about like home and family and like people around you. That is so important, bro. So like, somebody's always looking up to you. You may not know it. And so with what you said, with leading with grace and all that, you're always kind of leading somebody, even without knowing. So that's why it's so important to move. For me, that, you know, the word, like the equivalent of your word for me is integrity. Like, for me, if you're missing that, it's like, how can people trust you? Sure. You know what I mean? And so those things are so important, man. So I love that answer.
Thank you.
I love that answer.
Well, here we are at the end.
We are at the end, bro.
We made it.
Man, it was awesome being here, man.
We're going to take another quick break and we'll get a nice little clean outro.
Let's go.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Best one yet. Best one yet.
That was like one clap.
It really was.
Unison clap.
Yes. Hello, everyone. We're back. Nico, thank you so much for joining me on A Moment.
Thank you for having me, bro. It's an honor.
Dude, it's been really great.
Yeah.
I was nervous about asking you. It's just like, this guy doesn't want it. He's busy, like he's all over the world. But bro. I got past myself and I asked, and I think it's been a great one.
It has, man.
Where can the people follow you?
So I'm mostly active on Instagram, really. That's been my main thing. So @_ Nico, NICO, Barboza, BARBOZA.
Okay.
So that is where I'm at. And yeah, Facebook is normally for friends and family.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not for any specific reason. It just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, just Instagram is the best way.
Sweet. You can follow me on Instagram @StefLo55, STEFLO55. And you can follow the show on Instagram and maybe TikTok if it's still around in the new year. @AMomentPod and YouTube as well. I think that's about it, brother.
Bro, that's awesome. Your handles are way better than mine. What is it, Steve?
StefLo55.
Steflo
was my nickname growing up in Alabama because they were my best friend, Jonathan Gamble. He had so many Stevens in his life. And I, as an internet handle, just did the first 3 letters of my first and last name, Steflo. And that just caught on for them. So his family, they call me Steflo. So
bro, that's fire. That's so fire.
I guess.
Anyway, I just wanted to highlight that because that's a good handle.
I appreciate it.
Man, thank you for having me.
Dude, thanks for being here. And thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us for A Moment. See you later.
See ya.
Dude, you're crushing this.
Oh man, thank you.
Was any of that too far or too weird? Or?
No, I was trying to hold back, bro. I didn't want to get in trouble. Before I left, Mel was like, remember to be nice. I was like, okay.